Lately, back with another video, and this is the review of the Clark sisters, the first ladies of gospel that premiered on Lifetime. So if you have not watched the movie and you want to watch the movie, I would suggest that you click out now, because I will discuss scenes and spoilers. It's going to be a lot of spoilers in this video, so click out now if you want to watch it and then come back and join us. Okay, if you're still here, that means you're ready to rock and roll. So let's move on, shall we? So, taking a look at the cast. So, I'll just go down a list of who played who. We had Alahane, what was that? Ahanji Ellis. If I butchered that, sorry. But she played Maddie Moss Clark. She played the hell out that role, by the way. I got to see, they had a lot of behind the scenes footage and stuff on YouTube. So if you was like me, you went digging for stuff prior to the movie coming out. And the girls, when they met the actress that played their mother, the Clark sisters, they broke down. They said it was just like seeing their mother in the flesh. So they said this woman played the role and really embodied their mother. So shout out to her. Some of her prior works includes The Help, If Beale Street Could Talk, The Birth of a Nation, the Conlita White story, and Ray. She was in Ray, and Notorious. So those are some of the pictures, previous works that she has been involved with, but she did an amazing job. Next actress is Raven Good, who played Denise Clark Bradford. You know her from being Mary Jane, Snatch, and Glee. The next actress was Shalia Frazier, who played Dorinda Clark Cole. She contributed to soundtracks from Jump the Broom and Aquila and the Bee. So she does some, she's into music with the movies as well. And then we had Christina Bell, who gave us Jill Scott vibes. Did you not pick up Jill Scott? She played Twinkie in the movie, but when it was segments in that movie, when I saw, I'm like, damn, she looked like Jill Scott. She really does. I'm getting Jill Scott vibes from her. Anyway, she's an up-and-coming actress. Of course, Kiki Shears, who plays Karen Clark Shields. That is Karen Clark Shields' daughter. She's a gospel artist. She is, have played in did a couple of acting scenes and pictures. You know her from the reality TV show The Shears. They had a reality TV show on BET at one point. And last but not least, we have Angela Burchett, who played Jackie Cullum Chisholm. She played previously on The Blind Spot and Kevin Criminal or something like that. But those were the main actresses that played the Clark sisters and their mother. Overall, like I said, I thought the movie was good. Actually, it left me wanting a little bit more. But I do understand that it's only so much you can do within a 2-hour time frame. And I think if they would have had maybe a setup like New Edition did with BET, and Bobby Brown did, if they was able to do a couple of nights, maybe they could have dug deeper, because they really, the movie went pretty fast. I mean, they only had like maybe one scene, one segment of them being kids and singing, and then it automatically jumped to them being grown. So they had to, I feel like it was a hurry up and let's get as much as we could get within the 2 hours time span with, commercials. Okay. Maddie Moss Clark, we all probably have named her. She is the female version of Joe Jackson. So, and even in the movie, her husband said, "Well, what you trying to do? Create the next Jackson 5?" She said they gonna be better than the Jackson 5. But I think we all have named Maddie Moss Clark the female version of Joe Jackson. God rest her soul. But she was tough. She was demanding, and she had these one-line hitters in the movie that was just crazy. Like, sorry came by, sorry came by a shoe. And speaking of shoes, she always, when she got upset, what she do? She always was throwing shoes. So, yeah, she was not playing. She had a vision. She had a goal. She was no nonsense. There was a segment of abuse in this picture that took place. This was, Maddie's been married twice. So she had her first husband, and from her first husband, she had 2 kids, which is Leo, the only boy, in which they did not bring him up at all in the movie. I mean, I understood he was not part of the group or anything, but there was just like no mention that she had a son. But she actually have a son named Leo, and then she had Jackie, and those were the 2 oldest kids from her first marriage, and they were the Cullums. She went on and she married a pastor, and that's how they got the Clark last name. And then she would go on to give birth to Denise and Dorinda and Karen and Twinkie through that marriage. So she birthed, 4 more additional kids through that marriage. She dragged Twinkie a lot. She was the lead, minister of music for the Kojic Church, which is, Kojic stands for Church in God in Christ. So she was like the international director of music. So she was being called to go around and conduct musical workshops and put on concerts. And, once Twinkie was 9 years old, she took Twinkie along with her on the road constantly. It took her away from the house. It took her away from the family. And her husband, who was a pastor at that time, was not feeling it. She was overbooked and always busy. There was an event that required attendance of the pastor's wife, wives. She could not go because her and Twinkie had an engagement. This led to an altercation. He told her she was useless, and it turned into a physical altercation. He hit her, and he would end up hitting Jackie as well, because Jackie was coming home from a date with a guy who eventually would become her husband. And she was going to call. She tried to go up there to bust through the door, but she couldn't. She ended up trying to attempt to call the police, and the pastor, the stepfather, came down and he hit her, told her to get out his house, and she couldn't understand why he didn't like her. She said, she tried to respect him and love him, but she just didn't understand. But she decided to leave. She was currently a nurse. She, was seeking support from her guy, and she did left. She would eventually come back. Her mom, Maddie, filed for a divorce. She would come back, and Maddie goes on to help blow the girls up. musically, and they eventually get to they got an invite to perform at the Grammys, and they actually got nominated for an award. So the girls invited her, their mom, to come up there and sing with us. If you go on YouTube, look this stuff up, you can see all this historical footage, by the way. So mom joins them, Maddie joins them to perform, and the Church of God of Christ, they are not happy about that. They, told her, they was gonna remove her from her position, but they end up saying, you can keep the position, but you can no longer perform with your daughters ever again. So they were not pleased, and with the Clark sisters, they were cutting edge because they were sampling, you know, secular songs like Stevie Wonder's, what's that, Master Blaster, that they, had sampled and made You Brought the Sunshine. So it was a critical time in gospel music where people, one feeling like, you could cross over. Now, gospel music is on a whole different level, and, you're trying to do things to reach the young people or to break out or be different. So gospel music has really emerged from then, and I think it was the Clark sisters that really set the tone to make gospel music more contemporary. So yeah, that was Maddie. We'll come back to Maddie. Denise. I think everybody was curious to see how Denise was going to get portrayed in this picture. Rationale, if you watch TV One's Unsung, they made it seem like she got put out the group. We knew that she had kids out of wedlock, and she got put out the group. That's the most that Unsung had to say. And with Unsung, they did not invite Denise to participate in the interview process with Unsung. She mentions that there is an interview out there with Denise. You can catch it on YouTube. But there's a couple of interviews, and I think it's like a 4-part series of Denise, and she talks about her sides of the things. And I got to see that prior to seeing this movie. So I was definitely curious, as well as you all probably was, to see how they portray Denise. And then I know some people said they didn't like how she was portrayed, but this is based on, you had to watch the interview. So if you didn't watch the interview, you wouldn't understand why they felt she was not, they should have portrayed her differently. You got to watch the interview. But they just made Denise seem like she just kicked it, had multiple boyfriends. She'll come sing her songs, go back out here, kick it, wear her lipstick. She said she was having sex, and she was just doing her. And if we go to the part, I guess, where she was telling the sisters that she was pregnant, they was like, well, how can you do this? How did you let this happen? And the church is not gonna feel it. And I just figured when she told her mother, I thought her mother was gonna tear that place apart and go off. But she was cool as a cucumber. I'm looking at her like, I just know Maddie finna go the hell off. But she did not. She told her, get dressed and perform. And then again, as you know, Denise did stay on then, because eventually she will go on to have additional children out of wedlock. And they get to the point where she decides she don't want to be in the group. She wants to go find herself. She wants to go do her own thing. She don't want to be bound by this contract to continue to perform, to be under her mother. So she decides to lead the group. We all thought that she was kicked out, but no, she made the decision to leave the group. So another thing is they don't talk about this in the movie, but this came up in her interview. One of those three children that were conceived out of wedlock was actually by, and I don't know if he was a pastor or apostle. He was or a bishop. He was somebody that was like a church, a leader in a church. And it was a situation where this was a way older man and taking advantage of a younger girl. That did not come up in the story, but Denise talks about that. But yeah, one of her kids is actually by a religious leader, and it was a situation of a older man, a young woman situation. That's why I said, please go and check out the interview if you want to check it out. Watch. I think his name is Larry Reed. Or you could do Denise Bradford Clark's interviews and they will come up. But it was with Larry Reed that she gets really into the kid situation. She also mentioned that she kept all her kids, unlike her sisters. That's why I said go over there, because it's a whole cup of tea over there that comes out. So she just said she kept all her kids. She don't go into details about what was done or who did what, but she just said she was the one sister that kept her kids. Whew, anyway, but they just show her. Denise was doing her own thing. She'll go out, you know, let the sisters have their little chicken time. It was a scene in the movie that's having a chicken, but she wanted to, be with her man, because she said she had multiple boyfriends, and yeah, she wanted to kick it, and she ended up living life the way she wanted to do it. So we'll come back to Denise later on too. Twinkie. I felt sorry for Twinkie. Twinkie has so much pressure and responsibility, and I just felt like she had the weight of the world on her shoulders when it came down to music, ministry, and the whole branding of the Clark sisters. It started at a young age. Like they mentioned, Maddie had Twinkie at the tender age of 9, going around with her, playing on the organ for concerts, conducting various music workshops, traveling with choirs and playing the organ and singing and doing all types of whatnot. Twinkie had been accepted and was studying at Howard University. Twinkie had her own set of goals. She had things she wanted to do, but she could not be at Howard and roll with the Clark sisters. So it was almost like Maddie convinced her to drop out of school. It was crazy because I thought that there will be a push for women and education, and I'm assuming if we saying Dr. Maddie Moss Clark, she had to have a doctorate somewhere. She had to get some form of education, right? So I kind of felt bad for Twinkie because I felt like she had to uphold Maddie Moss Clark's goals and dreams and visions and everything she wanted to do and accomplished, got put on the back burner or just never came to fruition. Twinkie was committed to the music. Even in on Unsolved, she said she was the one writing, producing, rehearsing the band, and getting everything together because she was the leader of the group. The rest of the girls was out dating. They all would eventually get married, having a good time. But it was Twinkie that was doing, the composing, the praying, the manifesting, getting all this stuff together. She watched her sisters get married. I think every time she, saw she saw Dorinda getting. I mean, Jackie was the first to get married. Then Dorinda got engaged. Then Karen been seeing her husband at the time. So all of them was getting married. All of them was obtaining starting their families, and she was still traveling, composing, doing all this stuff. Maddie was hard on Twinkie. She was really hard on Twinkie. Twinkie had ended up kind of getting bamboozled. Well, hell, she got bamboozled. She ain't kind of. She got bamboozled. So she got bamboozled out of the original rights to her song, and in exchange for some money and the opportunity to obtain a Lincoln Town car. And they had also had approached Karen for a solo deal, but they had told Karen had told them, the record execs, to talk to her mother. She wasn't into that. She didn't feel like that was her area to be a solo artist. And the Maddie March clock went off. She went off. The girls went off. And Maddie was telling her, "Yeah, you a woman by body and looks, but you still a little girl." And she said, "You sold your future. You sold your sister's future. You sold your kids' future by selling the rights to your song." That's one thing. If you, it is important for artists, writers, producers to have rights and royalties to music, because when you have royalties and these songs come back up to be used in movies, commercials, or somebody comes along and sample songs, that's how you continue to be paid off of this stuff. Even though it may came out years, you could continue to get royalties and funds off of music that's being brought back up for specific things. But she sold the rights. Twinkie would get into a relationship, and she decided to get married, and she wanted to leave the group. I think at that point Twinkie was just burnt the hell out, and she was run down. I think Twinkie just wanted to go have a little simple life, just have a husband, have a simple life, and not have to deal with all the rigmarole as it was to being the Clark sisters. Because they even said, like, who gonna do our writing, who gonna arrange the band, and who gonna do this. And it was like, she told them, you all got talent, you all could do those similar things too. And she was just, she felt like nobody supported her. She felt like nobody was happy for her. And she felt like everybody else got, supported when they went off to get married. But what it was is that Twinkie was the glue that kept it together. But Maddie Mars Clark thing was, you keep it moving. In Unsolved, when Twinkie left, and they made it sound like Twinkie departure was glamorous, and Unsolved they say Twinkie got married and had a baby. But when we look at it, Twinkie was walking into a disaster. So Twinkie shows up to the house with her newfound husband. This Negro don't even got a job. So you mean to tell me you just married a man with no job, and you finna go move out the state? They leaving the state on a hope and a prayer. No set plans. I got a problem with that. I'm sorry. I'm not leaving anywhere to go with no man who ain't got a job. Don't have nothing set up, nothing in place. We finna go out here and freestyle. Oh no. Plus I'm at the age now we can't freestyle now, honey. We got to be there's too much going on out here. We don't freestyle. We need a game plan. We need some set rules and regulations on how we moving forward. We are too old to freestyle. You freestyle when you're 20. You can't freestyle when I'm almost 40. You don't freestyle when you're almost 40. You freestyle in your 20s. You're trying to find yourself, figure out, at 40, we need to know what the hell going on, where the check coming from, how much it's going to be, what it's going to cover, what we doing. Strike one. Strike two. So, Maddie's questioning this man, and she was telling her she's willing to help clear the schedule. She's willing to cut down the engagements. She'll do whatever it takes for her not to move to North Carolina with this man and stay with the Clark sisters. Maddie is willing to compromise to keep Twinkie there. Twinkie was not having it. She sent her husband away so they could talk, and Maddie was pleading. He came back in, trying to separate the two. He ends up shoving Maddie Marsh Clark down to the ground. That's strike two. You ain't finna shove my mama down to no ground. And think I'm okay with it. I'm not going nowhere. You would not be disrespectful to my mama. And my mom can hold her own. She gonna cut you something real good. But no, you want me shoving my mama down? I ain't going nowhere. First off, you shove my mama to the ground. You don't have a job. And we're going out to state all for some hopes and some prayers. Oh no, that was 3 strikes right there, baby. That was your 3 strikes right there. That was nope. Nope. Anyway, moving on. Twinkie goes off with him. Life is not glamorous. She ends up having a son. And for what I heard through the grapevine on these interviews, her son was in jail. Recently is in jail. But apparently he got out. That's why I said, go over there, watch them interviews. A lot of stuff gonna come out the wash. Anyway, but she goes and she has a son. They are not living a glamorous life. Her husband has the nerve to question making money. So Twinkie's out trying to get a solo deal at this point. She gets paid in advance, but the advance is only enough for them to cover bills. And the husband mad. He talking about, we rolling around, we driving a 10-year-old car. We don't look like we living, a certain lifestyle. And I looked at him like, well, you came up here with no job. What the hell you doing? That's what I want to know. What the hell you doing? Got some damn nerves. So Twinkie would eventually divorce her husband and come back to Detroit. So they don't bring that up in Unsung at all. But she would eventually leave him. And Twinkie does go on to do a couple of solo albums. And I think right now, she's actually kind of sickly right now in real time, in real life. She's kind of sickly. I'll come back to that next. So Maddie Maddie's getting, at this point, she's older. She got older. Health is starting to fail. She's not cooperating. She's being stubborn, as most older people doing, not taking her medicine, not following doctor's orders, and just being hard-headed. Jackie looks after her because Jackie's the nurse, and she noticed that she's not taking her medicine. She noticed there was some blood coming from her ankles, and I believe Maddie had to get her leg amputated, or her legs amputated, a leg amputated. I believe in they in Unsung, I think she had to get her legs amputated, or I read somewhere that one of her legs got cut off. And I think she died from kidney issues in 1994. But she would get hospitalized in the movie, and she would eventually pass. The funeral. So the Clark sisters, it's funeral day. They all come in there. They got their white on. They are with their husbands. they are sharp, to be honest. They looking mighty clean in that white. I got to give it to them. They got some bad hats on too. They doing their thing. So they're there. They're in mourning. It's the service. In walks Denise. Now we ain't seen Denise since she left the group, right? In walks Denise, and she goes up and she commands the mic, and she says, I'm the oldest Clark sister. They've been hiding me. These are my 7 kids. I'm like, well, damn, she went and had some more kids, because when she quit the group, she had 3 kids. So now she come back, she done had a whole half of a damn basketball team. She talking about, this is my 7 boys, and the sisters felt like she was, about to cut a fool. So they went up there and snatched her down. The actual footage of Denise speaking at her mother's funeral is on YouTube. So right before, once the, movie went off, all the stuff started hitting social media and everything. So somebody came across a post of Denise Clark Bradford saying that she was on program to speak at her mother's funeral. It wasn't a walk up. It wasn't no add on. She was actually on program to speak at her mother's funeral, and she actually posts the copy of the program on social media, and it's circulating around. And the pictures of her from the funeral is actually circling around now, and you can check some of this stuff out on YouTube as well. So she said this is made for TV. That scene with Niecy busting in, she said that was dramatic. It wasn't even like that. It wasn't nowhere near like that. So you can go and take a look at her portion of the service is on YouTube. So Denise is kind of, she said some of this stuff was far-fetched. That funeral scene was far-fetched. Anyway, getting back to the movie. So they have the funeral. So after the funeral, just the classic black family cutting the food at the funeral. Denise goes to join the other sisters to ride in the front main car. They told her, you could ride in the second car. And then she said, well, why I can't ride in the first front car? She said, we figure you need to be with your boys. She said, my boys are with my husband. So Niecy did eventually get married. So I'm assuming the husband, she done had the 4 extra kids by her husband. But she said, yeah, the kids can ride with her husband. That was her mother. She should be in the front car too. Her and Carol get into a back and forth. Carol is like, the way you clown and act the fool at the funeral, you should not, you should be, I don't even want to ride with you. And, why are you doing this? Why you make a scene? We could talk about this stuff later.